A waitress receives a $100,000 tip. She never expected it came from a billionaire. Lisa had been working double shifts at the small-town diner for months, trying to scrape together enough money to pay for her mother's medical bills. Every night, she'd collapse into bed, exhausted, only to wake up and do it all over again. She wasn't one to complain. She had learned long ago that life wasn't fair, and kindness was a rare currency. That night, the diner was unusually quiet. The hum of the neon sign flickered outside, and the smell of fresh coffee lingered in the air. Lisa wiped down a table when the door chimed, and a man walked in. He was alone, dressed in a simple black coat and jeans, his face partially hidden under a baseball cap. Something about him seemed familiar, but she couldn't place it. "Just coffee," he said with a tired smile as he slid into a booth. Lisa poured him a fresh cup, nodding. "Long day?" He chuckled. Something like that. She didn't pry. Over the years, she had learned that some customers just needed quiet, and she respected that. But as she moved between tables, refilling cups and serving late-night regulars, she noticed the man watching her. Not in a creepy way, more like someone observing, thinking. When it was time for the check, she placed it gently on the table. It was just a few dollars. The man pulled out a credit card, signed the slip, and got up. "Thank you for the coffee," he said with a small nod before walking out into the night. Lisa sighed, ready to clear the table, until she saw the receipt. Her hands trembled as she stared at the tip line. Her breath caught in her throat. $100,000. Her heart pounded. This had to be a mistake. A prank, a cruel joke. She bolted to the door, searching the street, but the man was gone. The night swallowed him whole, leaving her standing there with a piece of paper that felt heavier than gold in her shaking hands. She never expected it came from a billionaire. Lisa's hands trembled as she clutched the receipt, staring at the impossible number. $100,000. No one left tips like that, especially not for a simple cup of coffee. Her mind raced. This had to be a mistake. Maybe he added too many zeros by accident. Maybe it was a cruel joke. Her heart pounded as she rushed to the counter where her manager, Joe, was counting the till. "Joe," she blurted out, shoving the receipt in front of him. "Look at this." Joe squinted at the slip, then nearly dropped his pen. This can't be real." I don't know," Lisa stammered. "He just left. I tried to find him, but he was gone." Joe whistled low. "You better cash this before he changes his mind." Lisa's stomach twisted. It didn't feel real. People struggled to afford their meals sometimes. Who would just leave a tip like this? And why? She spent the rest of the night in a daze, barely aware of the customers coming and going. Her shift ended at midnight, and she walked home, the cold night air doing nothing to clear the fog in her mind. When she finally got home, she sat at the tiny kitchen table, staring at the receipt. Her mother, Diane, was dozing on the couch, wrapped in an old quilt. The sound of her uneven breathing made Lisa's chest tighten. The hospital bills, the overdue rent, the groceries she had been stretching. This money could change everything, but it also felt strange, unearned. The next morning, she went straight to the bank, half expecting them to laugh in her face. Instead, the teller's eyes widened as she confirmed the transaction was legitimate. The money was real. Lisa walked out in a daze, gripping her phone. She had to find him. She needed to understand why. She barely had time to process the next thought when her phone buzzed. An unknown number. She hesitated, then answered. "Lisa?" A deep voice came through the line. "I believe you have some questions about the tip I left." Her breath caught. It was him. Lisa gripped her phone tighter, her heart racing. "Yes, why did you do that?" Her voice came out shaky, caught between disbelief and curiosity. The man chuckled softly. "I had my reasons." "That's not an answer," she pressed. No one leaves a $100,000 tip for a cup of coffee. A pause. Then he sighed. Meet me at the diner in an hour. I'll explain. The line went dead. Lisa stood there, frozen. She stared at the phone, then at her bank app, where the money was already sitting in her account. This was real. And now, she was about to face the stranger who had turned her life upside down overnight. She rushed back to the diner, her nerves frayed. Joe was already there, flipping chairs down from tables. "You look like you've seen a ghost," he said. "I think I might," Lisa muttered. The bell above the door jingled, and her breath caught. The man from last night stepped inside, dressed in the same casual clothes. But now, without the cap pulled low over his face, she recognized him instantly. Ethan Cole. Her stomach dropped. She had seen his face on magazine covers, business articles. He was one of the wealthiest men in the country, a tech billionaire. And he had been sitting in her booth, drinking coffee like a regular guy. Lisa blinked, struggling to find words. You're him." Ethan smirked. "Guilty?" Joe's eyes nearly popped out of his head. "Wait, what?" Ignoring him, Lisa focused on Ethan. "Why?" Ethan pulled out a chair and sat down. "Because I know what it's like to be you." Lisa frowned. "What's that supposed to mean?" He leaned forward, his gaze serious. "I wasn't always a billionaire. I grew up in places like this, watching my mom work herself to the bone just to keep us afloat. I saw the exhaustion in her eyes, the way she counted every penny. When I walked in here last night, I saw the same thing in you." Lisa swallowed hard, emotions rising in her throat. "I don't usually do things like this," Ethan admitted, "but something told me you needed a break." Lisa stared at him, her heart pounding. "So, what now?" Ethan smiled. "That depends. What are you going to do with it?" Lisa's mind spun as she stared at Ethan, a billionaire, one of the richest men in the world, had just given her a life-changing amount of money because he understood her struggle. It felt unreal. I don't know," she admitted, her voice barely above a whisper. "I mean, I should pay off my mom's hospital bills first, but—" She hesitated. "It feels wrong, like I didn't earn it." Ethan leaned back, studying her. "Why does kindness have to be earned?" Lisa had no answer. She had spent her whole life believing nothing came without a price. Every dollar she made at the diner was a result of hours on her feet, aching muscles, and sleepless nights. But now, here she was, holding a gift she hadn't fought for, and it unsettled her. Ethan must have sensed her hesitation. "Look," he said, "I don't expect anything in return. I just wanted to help." Lisa frowned. "But why me? You could have given this money to anyone." He smiled, but there was something sad in his eyes. "Maybe because I saw a version of my mother in you. She worked as a waitress, too. Raised me on tips and scraps, just like you're taking care of your mom. I always told myself that if I ever made it big, I'd help someone like her." He paused. "Someone like you." Lisa felt her throat tighten. She thought of her mother, the sleepless nights spent worrying about medical bills, the way her mother had sacrificed everything just to give her a fighting chance. Was this what fate looked like? Joe, who had been eavesdropping shamelessly, finally let out a low whistle. "Damn, that's something." Lisa let out a nervous laugh, wiping at her eyes before tears could fall. "Yeah, it really is." Ethan glanced at his watch. "Listen, I have a flight to catch in a few hours. But before I go, tell me, Lisa, what do you really want to do with your life?" Lisa hesitated. No one had ever asked her that. Not seriously. For the first time, she realized she had a choice. And for the first time, she dared to dream. Lisa sat back, Ethan's question lingering in the air. "What do you really want to do with your life?" She had spent so long surviving, pushing through one shift after another, that she had never stopped to ask herself that. Her dreams had been buried under medical bills and exhaustion. I... She hesitated. I used to love baking. When I was younger, I wanted to open my own bakery, but life got in the way. Ethan smiled. Doesn't mean it's too late. Lisa let out a dry laugh. It's easy to say when you're a billionaire. He shrugged. I wasn't always. I built my first company in a garage, working nights while juggling 3 jobs. You've already been doing the hard part, working non-stop to survive. The difference is, now you have an opportunity to turn that into something more. She stared at him, his words hitting deeper than she expected. Was that really possible? Could she actually take this gift and turn it into something bigger? Joe, still standing behind the counter, chimed in. You do make a mean apple pie, Liz. She smirked. Thanks, Joe. Great business pitch. Ethan chuckled. You don't have to decide now, but I will say this. Money doesn't change who you are. It just gives you the freedom to become who you were meant to be. Lisa exhaled, the weight of the moment pressing on her. It felt terrifying to even consider something beyond just getting by. But deep down, a spark had been lit. Ethan pushed back his chair. I have to get going. He pulled out a business card and slid it across the table. If you ever need advice or help, call me. Lisa picked it up, running her fingers over the embossed letters. Ethan Cole, founder and CEO. She couldn't believe any of this was real. As he stood to leave, she blurted out, Why didn't you tell me who you were last night? Ethan paused, then grinned. Because I wanted to see how you treated a stranger. Turns out you're exactly the kind of person I hoped you'd be. And just like that, he walked out, leaving Lisa with a heart full of questions, and the biggest decision of her life. The diner felt different after Ethan left, like the air itself had shifted. Lisa sat at the booth, staring at his business card, her mind racing. For the first time in years, she had a real choice. The money wasn't just about survival. It was a chance to build something, to become something more than a struggling waitress drowning in bills. She looked up at Joe, who was still watching her like she might faint. You okay? Lisa let out a shaky breath. I think so, but I need to do something. The next few days were a blur. First, she paid off her mother's medical bills, the weight of debt lifting from her shoulders in a way she never thought possible. Then, she quit her job at the diner. Not because she didn't appreciate it, but because it was time for something new. And then, she took a risk. She rented a small shop space on the corner of Main Street, right where she used to imagine opening a bakery as a kid. It was run down and needed work, but for the first time, she wasn't scared. She had the funds. She had a plan. One evening, as she was painting the walls a warm, buttery yellow, her phone buzzed. It was an unknown number. She answered. Hello? You actually did it, came the familiar deep voice. Lisa smiled. Ethan? I saw the news article. Small-town waitress opens dream bakery overnight. He chuckled. I knew you had it in you. Lisa laughed, looking around the space. It's still a work in progress, but yeah, I think I finally believe in myself. You should, Ethan said. I told you. Money doesn't change who you are. It just gives you the freedom to become who you were meant to be. Lisa gripped the phone, feeling a warmth in her chest. Thank you, Ethan, for everything. You don't owe me anything, he said. Just promise me one thing. What's that? When you make it big, pay it forward. Lisa smiled. Deal. As she hung up, she stepped outside and looked up at the new sign above her bakery. Lisa's Little Bake Shop. For the first time in her life, she wasn't just surviving, she was living. If this story warmed your heart, imagine the impact a single act of kindness can have in the real world. Generosity changes lives, and sometimes all it takes is one moment to give someone the chance they never thought they'd have. Would you seize an opportunity like Lisa's? Or would you be the person who gives it? Share this story with someone who needs a little inspiration today. Drop a comment. What would you do if a stranger changed your life overnight?